Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Developer Show. I'm your host, Chad, and today we are joined by a very special guest. His name is Denis Dunn, and he joins us from Hawequa Dunn. Now, Denis, I'd like you to start off, if you could just tell us a bit about Hawequa and your experience in the development industry.
Thank you, Chad. Yeah, so I've been in the industry for 25 years. I've been doing development sales for basically the last 22 years. Our company, first we were a small company, Dunn Property Services, and 3 years ago we joined forces with Hawequa. We bought the franchise, and and from that time on we were Hawequa Dunn. Now we're in the #1 office in South Africa, currently #1 office in South Africa. We're very proud of that. 23rd in the world internationally, so we're very proud about that. And we do a lot of development sales yearly. So we basically development specialists in the northern suburbs. So we can help clients, we can help developers sell their product, or we can help buyers buy in these products where developers develop security complexes and all of that. Yes.
So you're a completely full service office.
Full service. We can, if a developer wants to sell his product, they can come to us. We will work out a marketing plan for them. We will work out budgets for them. So we do that part. And then also, when we start marketing these products, the buyer who comes to us, we will help him purchase these units. We'll help him with his finance. We'll help him with his structure. If he needs a company or a trust or anything like that, we can help them with that.
I'm sure that alleviates a lot of the stress that potential buyers must have as soon as they start jumping into the development market, knowing that you're going to be able to take care of all of that must be a huge benefit.
No, absolutely. We've helped many people invest in property and become wealthy because of property.
That's great to know. These two developments that are on offer today, I know that you've got Mooiberge estate, and that's split into two separate entities internally, I believe, and that's Kogelberg and Hawequa. I might possibly be butchering the names there, but tell us a bit about this. Tell us about your offering today.
Okay, so it is the two developments is Kogelberg, basically Afrikaans words, Kogelberg estate and Hawequa estate. So the Kogelberg estate is basically the Mooiberge estate is one development. It's one big area. It's a new area in Durbanville, in Kogelberg, sorry. And in that area, we've developed few different developments. This is one of basically 6 developments in that area, or two developments in that area. So Kogelberg is townhouses that we're currently selling. So it's ideal for your first-time buyer or for your investor who wants to invest in property. And they start at 1.35 million. We've actually got a special offer on those units. They usually 1.4 million. Well, until stock lost, they're 1.350. And they basically two-bedroom houses, little houses, duplex houses that we're currently selling there in a security complex. So that's basically, and the client can, when he buys, there's nice finishes. As I said, security. There's going to be a nice school just around the corner that they will construct in the near future. Kuro School. There's going to be a lot of medical facilities, and there's basically basically a new area. The Hawequa, on the other hand, is apartments that we're currently selling. They're starting at 835,000 Rand for a 1-bedroom apartment. Very good value for money. And the nice thing is some of those apartments overlook Table Mountain. So, and then the 2-bedroom apartments, they start to sell from 1.235 million. It's basically 2 bedrooms with 2 bathrooms. And there's also garage. Garage is optional. If a client wants to purchase a garage, there's also garage is optional to purchase in that complex. Also security. Very nice location.
That's actually something I did want to speak to you about is what was the thought process that you went through when selecting this area?
So yeah, the thing is about this area is it's an upcoming area. It's next to the Kogelberg golf course. It's very centrally located. It's actually just 15 kilometers from Stellenbosch. It's very close to town. It's going to take you half an hour to get into town. It's very close to the Somerset West area, so it's very centrally located. So the location is very, very good. People who's maybe who works in Durbanville, work close to Tiger Valley, so the location is very important there. So that's one of the things. And then the other thing is it's a very upcoming area. So there's a secure school that they're going to build there, a lot of medical facilities. So location is the most important thing around this, and that's why we decided to take on this development and work with the developer to get it sold out as quickly as possible.
You've mentioned a lot of interesting things there that I'd like to touch on. So tell me, from the perspective of a first-time buyer looking to invest, how important is this location?
Very important. I think for a first-time buyer, the nice thing is location is important. And the thing is with first-time buyers, if they want to purchase, the first thing that I would look at is where's the location? Is it close to town? Is it close to Stellenbosch? Because for resale value, one day you need to look at this. The second thing that they have to look at is basically who's the developer? Has this developer been developing for many years, or is this a new developer, new kid on the block? So I would always look at that if I'm a first-time buyer and I need to invest in property. And then thirdly, I would also look at the estate agency who's dealing with who's selling these products, because obviously it comes also with experience. Is this estate agency, do they have the experience? Can they help you with the bond application? If you want to buy it in a trust, can they help you with it to set up the trust? If you want to buy it in a company, can they help you set up the company? So I think it's all those things that's very important. And also with the estate agency, do they have the experience on developments? Because it's a very tricky business if you buy into a development, and there's certain things that you have to take note of when you buy into developments.
And for everybody listening, can you clarify, you and I are both the estate agency and the developer, so it's one point of contact for everything?
Yes, one point of contact. So if a client comes to us, we will help them choose a unit. If they need bond finance, we will help them with that. We work with a bond lady who can apply for them at all the banks. So they can just sit back and relax. They'll have to give in all their stuff, but we will do all the work for them. They don't have to run to all the banks and see to get the bond application in. So we do it all for them. Once that bond application is in, they have to wait. It's sectional title, so they will only take occupation and transfer in plus minus 8 to 10 months from now. So they wait until that unit is built. Then they will take occupation. We will meet them on site the day that they need to take occupation and to move into their property. And then if it's an investor and they need to rent out the property, we will also help them with that. We do also do the rentals for our investors.
I mean, that must be a huge selling point. I think a lot of people might not realize how much of a selling point that is, in addition to what you're bringing to the table from the development, that they can just speak to you, just deal with you, and any questions, queries, or problems that arise, you guys can deal with. So I think that's fantastic. My next question that I wanted to ask you was actually, what are the pros and cons of buying a development over just any normal house?
Yeah, I think it's like buying a new car and buying a second-hand car. The new development comes with certain guarantees. You buy a brand new place, you're going to move into a brand new property. You'll be the first owner in that property. So I think it's like, as I said, like buying an old car and a new car. On a second-hand property, they can maybe be one of the two things. Somebody else stayed in there. It's maybe 20 years old, so there won't be any guarantees when you move into that property. So I think that's the huge advantage of buying into development. The second thing is we will look at, there would be obviously no transfer duty. On these developers, there's actually no transfer cost. So the client, if they buy here, they won't pay any transfer cost. Where if you buy a second-hand property, it can cost you anything from 100,000 to 300,000, 400,000, depending on the purchase price. So that's a huge benefit when buying into a new development. And then the third thing is when you buy into new developments is there's already pre-approvals for this development. So the banks has already assessed this development and found value in this properties. Where if you buy second-hand, the valuer have to go out and go and see if there's value in this property after you've purchased it. But on development, the value is already there. So the client that comes to this development, they know there is value in this property. So I think that's the huge differences between buying new and buying second-hand.
Thank you very much for that. I think that explains a lot. Coming back to the development itself, I'd like to ask actually, what is your favorite feature of this development? What is the one thing here that stands out to you that you absolutely love?
Okay, so the thing that I love there, I'm also an investor. I've been for 25 years, and I just bought into this development. We bought a few units there. So the thing that I love is location. I love the location because it's close to Stellenbosch. One day when my kids is maybe going to Stellenbosch to university, I can maybe put them in there, and it's 15 minutes drive. So location. And then the second thing is security. I think these days everyone wants to be in security complexes. So the security is very important here. So I love the security. And then maybe I'll add one in. If you're an investor and you buy in as an investor product, and that's what I do. We do the Article 13 SEX from SARS, where they will give you a tax deduction. And I buy these entry-level income properties to rent out because it becomes an asset base in my balance statement. So, and if you buy 5, you can actually deduct 55% of the value of that property from a taxable income for 20 years. So the tenant actually pays your property over 20 years. That equates to about 20% of the tenant and SARS pays to your property.
That is an amazing selling point, I have to admit. Yeah, when we were talking about the unit types initially, when you're presenting the development, I did want to ask, what are the different amenities that these developments offer? What's on the grounds? Talk about the clubhouses and the rest of that.
Yeah, we're going to build a clubhouse there that will be for the owners of the Mooiberge estate residents. The clubhouse will have facilities where people can rent the clubhouse for functions and all of that. So that's one of the amenities. The other amenity is obviously the schools that I told you about in the area. Kiro School bought a piece of ground there. Kiro, they're going to build a school there. So that's one of the amenities. So yeah, that's basically it. And then obviously security, all the things that I already talked about.
No, it sounds great. Now onto a bit of a tougher question here is how has COVID affected the timelines of these construction projects, and what measures have you as a developer taken to mitigate those delays?
Yeah, so just to say, I'm not a developer, I'm an estate agent, but yeah, what we have done with our developers, and we work very closely with our developers, yes, timelines has been pushed out. Unfortunately, there's nothing that they could have done for that. But we're back in construction, so it pushed out the timelines with about 2.5 months. So obviously timelines that we had in the past moved out to 2 months now. But yeah, it has affected everyone, but we don't know why, but the market is very active. I think it's because of the interest rates, and a lot of people are buying, a lot of first-time buyers, a lot of investors because of the interest rate. The banks have got a very good appetite for bond finance. So yeah, I think so. COVID has affected us a bit timeline-wise, but on the other hand, we can see the market is very active, and COVID has actually helped us bringing down the interest rate so that clients do want to invest in property now. And as well, tenants who in the past rented the property, they can now buy a property. So that's a nice thing about this.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break and we will be back. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Developer Show. You are here with your host, Chad, and I'm joined by a very special guest, Denis Dunn, and he is talking about his two developments that he has got in the Mooiberge estate. Now, Denis, we just left off speaking about the COVID crisis and how that has influenced the timelines of constructions. I did want to ask you, what would your advice be to people who want to invest now? Why should they invest now, and why specifically should they be investing in this development?
All right. Yeah, so as I said previously, Chad, I'm an investor myself. We also bought in these developments. And I've been investing in property for 25 years, so I really believe in property. I've helped a lot of people buy into property and become wealthy, financial free. So I definitely believe in property. So the one thing that I would give advice to investors out there is what we have done in our business. And we've got a few different businesses. So in all our businesses, we buy property because the first thing is we build the asset base of that company, and and then the second thing is we lower the taxable income of that company over 20 years. So each year we're buying new properties into that company, new properties, and we will lower the taxable income of the company. Obviously, no one wants to pay SARS all the money that they make on their businesses. So that's the one thing that we do, and we do it in all our companies. I over 25 years that I've invested in properties that I bought 7 years ago has grown so much in value. Or 9 years ago, I've got this one property I bought it from this same developer, and we bought it in 2013. We paid for it 695,000 rand. Today it's worth 1.8 million rand. Those days we rented it out for 5,000 rand. Today we're renting it out for 11,500 rand a month. So it's a great income into my own business, and then also that property built my asset base. So I would definitely encourage people to invest in property, because the most wealthiest people in the world has become wealthy because of real estate. So I really believe in real estate, and I do believe that people need to invest in property because it makes them financially free.
When you start using those properties that you've just purchased to start financing your next purchase with the next property, so it's a good snowball effect.
Yeah, definitely. There's one property, actually, we just renovated it. It cost me 55,000 rand. But you know what? It didn't cost me 1 cent out of my pocket. We actually took the money out of that property, out of that access bond. We did the renovation, and my tenant is paying the bank. It's not me who's paying the bank, the tenant is paying the bank. So that is what property does, and I actually can use that money, and this is what we do. We use that money to put down the deposits on our new properties, so we don't have any shortfalls. I believe we don't sell our properties. Once we buy in a development, we never sell it again. That's our retirement fund. We never sell it again.
You know, that's definitely a testament then to how important an asset like property is to you if you want to start investing. Denis, we were speaking offline about something very interesting that I want to touch on, and that's within the process of developments, you're sitting with the cost required that you need to meet before the developers can then start building. What steps do developers take to mitigate those dangers of taking too long to start the construction process, and what do real estate agents like yourself help out with that?
All right. So yes, obviously on most of these developers that we work on, the bank finance, the developer needs the bank finance to proceed with the development. We understand that. So it's very important for us as the estate agent and for the developer to do sales as quickly as possible to get to that pre-sale stage. How do we do it? So the first thing is we always try and price our properties very well in the beginning to get to that stage, because then it will sell up to that, say, 60 or 70% stage that we need for pre-sales. The second thing is we do a lot of marketing. We spend a lot of money on marketing to get the people there. And then we also, the third thing is we only take on developments that we believe in, that we know it's got good value. It's got good value for the buyer out there. So those are the things that we look at. But the other positive side on this is if a client buys in that development and pre-sales must still take place, usually what happens is they buy in that first phases. And once pre-sales target has been reached, then usually the prices will go up. So that first buyer or the buyer buys in before that stage, and it takes 8, 9, 10 months to get there. That property grows in value. So that buyer gets a great investment without really paying for that. So that's a nice thing about pre-sales. The buyer out there gets investment and he doesn't pay for it.
It's a very interesting piece of information, because even though the delay might be inconvenient, it never negatively impacts the buyer. So I think is a fantastic piece of information to know. The other question I wanted to ask you, which was also specifically around a first-time buyer moving into developments, is what advice can you give a first-time buyer who's going to sit down with a real estate agent and move into developments? They sit down with that contract. What should they be wary of, if anything, before signing one of these offers to purchase?
Okay. One thing that's very important, usually there's a deposit payable. Make sure that that deposit goes into an attorney's, a legal attorney trust account. Because the buyer will receive the interest on that money, but it must be in the attorney's trust account, not in the developer's trust, in the developer's account. Never ever pay money into the developer's account. You pay that money into attorney's trust account. By law, the client will receive interest on that money. So that's one of the basic things that I would look at. And the other thing I would look at is obviously bond clauses in my contract, guarantee clauses in my contract. Is there a guarantee clause in the contract that like I said previously, it's like buying a new car and a second-hand car. Is there a guarantee on the property when you buy that property? So those are the small little things to look at when you purchase from a developer.
What guarantees are you looking for? What guarantees should they keep an eye out for? So
guarantees, most of these units, they will have a 5-year structural guarantee with the NHBRC. And then usually when a client moves in, there's a 3-month guarantee on all the small little defects, light switches maybe not working, or the small little things in the home. So they have to look out for that.
Okay, that's very, very interesting. It's good to know as well. I think everybody about to enter into the adventure of purchasing their first house, which is, I mean, a huge experience. I think they're very, very glad to hear these kinds of things. The last question I wanted to ask you, something I wanted to close off with actually, is you've been with private property for a while now. How long have you been advertising with private property?
Well, I've worked with private property from 20 years back. Yeah.
Part of the family.
All the time that they started, yes.
And could you tell me a bit about how you feel that they've helped you grow throughout this?
Yeah, now we've got a very good relationship with private property. Over the years, private property helped us reach our targets with clients that we work with. So yeah, no, we've got a very good relationship with private property. And I think the thing is about private property, I like the way they're thinking. Young, energetic, technology driven, and that's where we need to go. So I love to work with private property.
Denis, I love to hear that. So Denis, I wanted to close off by saying thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen who are tuning in, please take a look, log on to private property, go look for the Mooiberge estate, go look at what Denis Dunn and his wonderful team at Harcourt's Dunn are offering. I think there's definitely something there for every single body.
Hi, I'm Clinton Banfield. Our family and I live in Cape Town on the western seaboard. To be able to wake up and take in the scenery every day is an absolute pleasure. We probably have the best views of Table Mountain. There's some really amazing suburbs in our neighborhood. There's Milnerton, which is a central hub close to the city. There's some beautiful homes situated along the canal, which give you a breathtaking view of Table Mountain. A little bit further along the canal, you'll find Milnerton Golf Club, which is a great place to unwind with your mates. Then we have Mooiberge, which is world-renowned for its beaches, where you'll often see kite surfers taking full advantage of the wind. To top it off, there's a great variety of family restaurants in the area, like Blue Peter, where people love to meet. The Bayside Mall is a landmark in Tableview, giving you an all-round retail experience in a relaxed and convenient environment. As a family, we've chosen to live in Atlantic Beach Golf Estate in Melkbosstrand. Our suburb is so chilled, it really gives you this constant holiday feel. We've lived here for 2 years and we've really enjoyed the laid-back lifestyle, and this is our neighborhood.